will we go for a little walk, right? We'll start further afield from Ireland, but we'll bring the perspective or the focus back to Ireland in a minute, maybe, right? So here is from Law Enforcement Legal Defence Fund, and it's called Follow the Money, Mapping Soros Prosecutor Funding. Quote, over the past decade, billionaire George Soros has spent at least $50 million to elect scores of social justice prosecutors across the country. These district attorneys, who represent over 70 million people, or more than 1 in 5 Americans, often pursue pro-criminal and anti-police policies. This report tracks Soros prosecutors' funding, affiliations and actions. And you can go on and have a look at this if you want. It gives a load of these specific DAs they're talking about, right? And you can go on and look at the decisions they make and what their attempts are with maneuvering the law, right? So extending out the boundaries of what's illegal and what's not, or what's an arrestable offence and what isn't, right? And what appears to be happening, and you can see it in certain states if you're looking for the stuff, things like, you've probably seen videos of it, of people going into shops with trolleys and robbing like up to or less than $200 worth of stuff, because anything under a certain threshold in terms of how much money it's costing is deemed not an arrestable offence, right? So you're also seeing, we'll have a look at here, this is from Grok, a handy little thing. Quote, the policies of these DAs have included actions like abolishing or reducing cash bail, decriminalising certain offences, and focusing on alternatives to imprisonment. Critics argue that these policies have contributed to spikes in crime in some areas, while supporters believe they are essential for reducing systemic biases in the justice system and improving community safety through different means. And like, that stuff all sounds great on paper, but when the rubber hits the road and these ideas are given reality in the world, the outcomes are what are important, right? And what these states are noticing is a higher level of crime, although it's not going to be recorded. So it looks like crime is down, right? So there's a political element that can be sold resulting from this as well. So on paper, crime will be down because there's less prosecutable or arrestable crimes. Things are being decriminalised. So if nothing is criminalised, you cannot have criminals, and that looks great for the justice departments and stuff like that, right? It looks great for the police forces, all that sort of stuff. When in reality, it's just that crime is still there. It's just not being documented the same way because it's been expunged. It's been erased as a crime. But the act is still there, right? The offence towards another is still there. And if anything, you're going to see it spike because these things aren't crimes anymore. So if there's no fear of getting prosecuted for it, some people will take that as a green light to go and engage in it. So for those who don't know, George Soros is linked heavily with the Open Society Foundation. If not, I don't know what you call it, primary shareholder, donor. It's deemed a non-profit organisation, right? But we'll have a little look at this because it'll tell us something about the man, right? And ultimately the results or the aims from which he is trying to achieve or to gain by pumping his money in certain areas, right? And backing certain people over others, right? So this is opensocietyfoundations.org. And it says, this is the front page or the homepage. It says, the Open Society Foundations work to build vibrant and inclusive democracies whose governments are accountable to their people. How we work. Every year, the Open Society Foundation gives grants to a diverse array of groups and individuals who promote our values through a unique network that is guided by local voices and global expertise. So you can see there, so total expenditures, 22.7 billion, 50,000 grants awarded. What we do. The Open Society Foundations are active in more than 120 countries around the world, using grant giving, research, advocacy, impact investment, and strategic litigation to support the growth of inclusive and vibrant democracies. They have climate justice, equity, expression, justice, all the buzzwords. Here he is himself. All of the buzzwords, okay? So George Soros has given away more than 32 billion of his personal fortune to fund the Open Society Foundation's work around the world. So you can see that there's an ideological bent to this. It's not impartial. It is ideologically loaded in a specific aim, in a specific direction. So back to Ireland we come, and I will look at this tweet from Conor McGregor because I'm going to be getting into the case a little bit, tiny bit. And he said, this is September 2024, "As president, I hold the power to summon the Dáil as well as dissolve it. So as I said before, I would have all the answers the people of Ireland seek from these thieves of the working man, these disruptors of the family unit, these destructors of small businesses, and on and on and on. These charlatans in their positions of power would be summoned to answer to the people of Ireland, and I would have it done by day end. Or I would be left with no choice but to dissolve the Dáil entirely. Stop the train until. The people of Ireland deserve the answers they seek, point blank. This would be my power as president. I know very well. Ireland needs an active president employed wholly by the people of Ireland. It is me. I am the logical choice. 2025 is upcoming." So what does that have to do with George Soros backing DAs to try and decriminalise and ultimately end up leading to a spike in criminality? Well, my point in making that is that we do have cases where defense attorneys, prosecutors, maybe judges can be ideologically possessed, if not funded to see things through a certain perspective for the sake of financial backing or political backing, right? People can climb ladders when there's so many billions being thrown around through these NGOs and these charities, right? These organizations. Particularly the Open Society, as it says itself, it's involved in 120 countries, right? And there's a blatant ideological bent to what they're pushing. And what I just read from Conor McGregor there would run totally counter to the Open Society of George Soros, right? The idea of nationhood, the idea of justice and honour and truth for the native populations, right? So there's an antagonism there. And what does that make Conor McGregor a angel or a saint, or does it make him a devil? I suppose it depends who you're talking to, right? But that would just be their opinion of him. I'm not saying it makes him anything or it absolves him of anything or it attributes guilt or anything to him. I'm just having a look at the waves that run through these things, right? And some people will scream at this and think conspiracy. You're just coming up with a conspiracy, right? Because you're trying to pull together things that are not related. Maybe so. Maybe totally not related. But there's certainly flavours to certain things, right? And it's not my fault if you can't pick up on those flavours. But they're certainly there, right? And they deserve to be questioned. And maybe it is a massive big conspiracy. It would certainly explain what is going on in nearly every single Western country, lockstep the whole way, right? Hands in each other's pockets thing. We're all walking in the same direction against the native people's wills in most cases, right? So yeah, absolutely, keep your mind open to it. And so that brings me to Conor McGregor's case, right? And I don't really care what happened or what didn't happen in it. I'm not that interested in it, right? Because I don't know, I wasn't there, nor were you, right? But we've an interesting parallel here between Conor McGregor's case and Enoch Burke's case. Because Enoch Burke and Conor McGregor, whatever else they might have in common, what they do have in common in their speech and in action is a defiance towards the current political, sociological flavour, which just happens to be exactly what this open society is pushing for. We just happen to see it run amok in Ireland, right? And across other European nations, Western nations. So could it be possible for Enoch Burke and Conor McGregor to be suffering under the hand of ideologically possessed systems and indeed individuals. And what's interesting with both cases is we have Mr. Alexander Owens, and he is an Irish judge who has served as a judge at the High Court since February 2019. Here's how he's connected to both Enoch Burke and Conor McGregor cases. So the Enoch Burke case, Mr. Justice Alexander Owens was directly involved in one of the critical hearings regarding Enoch Burke, a teacher from Wilson's Hospital School in County Westmeath. Burke had been suspended over his refusal to comply with a school policy on transgender pronouns. He wasn't being inclusive, right? So you can see here, opposition to the dominant narrative that's being shoved down people's throats. Distinguishing characteristic number one, right? In March 2023, Justice Owens excluded Burke from the courtroom due to repeated interruptions and his refusal to comply with court rulings, specifically related to the disclosure of documents. This action was taken after Burke was found in contempt of court. Owens also made rulings concerning Burke's legal actions against the school and the conditions under which Burke could participate in the proceedings. Conor McGregor case. In the civil case involving Conor McGregor, accused of assault by Nikita Hand, Mr. Justice Alexander Owens presided over the proceedings. This case, which took place in November 2024, a few months after that tweet, right, involved allegations of rape from an incident in 2018 at the Beacon Hotel in Dublin. Owens instructed the jury on the law regarding damages, emphasising they should not speculate and should base their decision solely on the evidence presented. He outlined the types of damages that could be awarded if McGregor was found liable, right? So in both cases, there is certainly an argument to be made, because there's links involved in them, that you are dealing with an ideologically possessed judge. Perhaps. Let's make the case, right? Let's explore it. Let's ask questions. Who's this man backed by? Who is he affiliated with any of these organizations? And even if he's not, the ideology is still there. It's a free floater, because it tends to be the kind of the manufactured consent that is pushed, right? So there's absolutely a case to be made here that what you're seeing is not really sound. And in Enoch Burke's case specifically, the man has spent more time in jail than many sex offenders who've got suspended sentences since his time being in jail, right? It's wrong. It's not fair. It is not right. But it is a reality, right? And we need not think that judges are immune to this sort of ideological stuff, right? Because they're not. They're human beings at the end of the day, and they all have wallets, they all have bills, they all have debts, they all have skeletons in their closet, right? So people can be corrupted and manipulated. It's as simple as that, and compromised, right? So let's keep an open mind with this stuff, and let's not be shut down about asking questions about these things.